Hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. Now we're calling it Marketplace RoundUp Podcast because we are trying to bring in new news in the industry and speaking with various experts and solution providers for the last few months. Today, I've got Mike from ShipStation with me, and Mike's going to share some latest news in the industry. Mike, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Right, Mike. I think it's good for us, and if you could introduce yourself and what you do and what ShipStation does.
Of course. So obviously, my name is Mike. I'm the senior sales manager at ShipStation. So ShipStation is a web-based order management and delivery management platform. And we are part of the Stamps.com group of companies who help merchants all over the world deal with the complexity around online delivery. So that's us.
Yeah, excellent. So what's the news for us this week, Mike?
So I've got two articles that I bought today. The first one has affected all of us. Anyone who's got a car or motorbike or scooter or truck or van or whatever it is, it's the fuel shortages caused in part or mostly around the labour shortages, which has affected a big part of our industry. So tens of thousands of labour shortages across warehousing, across delivery drivers, and obviously the bigger impact that's kind of affected everyone is around that fuel delivery. So that's really interesting, particularly around the impact that's going to have on the peak period, as we've just started Q4 today. And there are, as I said, tens of thousands of shortages across those different industries. So who's that going to affect? Well, it's going to affect Amazon in their warehouses. So Amazon are offering up to £1,000 sign-on bonuses and have doubled wages in certain areas to kind of pick up for that shortage, which has a ripple-on effect for the rest of the market. So if you operate via a 3PL or if you are a merchant fulfilled retailer, then you may face potential shortages in seasonal workforce as a result of Brexit and also Amazon changing the dynamics of the labour market. So that's really interesting. The other thing around the fuel shortages and again on labour is the impact that has on the carrier if they are unable to deliver due to lack of fuel or lack of drivers. But also some carriers have spoken about adding surcharges on during the peak period to accommodate for a lack of staff or having to pay a higher cost for staff. So, all doom and gloom, but so what? What can retailers do to manage this particular issue? My advice would be look at all of your process when it comes to delivery. Make sure that whole delivery process is totally watertight. Maybe look at multiple carriers. If you are heavily reliant on a single carrier and Amazon or, and you are near an Amazon fulfillment center, or you see that there could potentially be delays on that particular carrier for a variety of reasons, now is the time to go and have a chat with other carriers and say, look, maybe I might get a better rate from using, I don't know, a DHL or a Royal Mail, or for particular lanes that might be quite useful for me, just in case it comes around to Black Friday and there is a total shortage, or a carrier has just turned you off because they simply can't meet demand. Then it's going to be really useful for you to have an agreement in place with someone else to be able to turn that on quickly. So have the conversation, see if you can get rates, and then look at around the tech side of it to see if you can enable that quickly, so you can generate those labels with multiple carriers and do all the manifesting, etc. And then really look at your process. So the pick, pack, and dispatch process. I'm talking to retailers who are typically shipping around 3,000 parcels a month, and they're saying, oh yeah, we ship 3,000, but December, November will be up to 20,000, no problem. I'm thinking, okay, that's great, but you need to make sure that your process is super tight and that you have the commitment from the carrier that they're actually going to be able to come and pick up those parcels from you to ensure that you meet that peak demand. This Christmas is going to be the biggest ever. We say that every year because it always is. and it just make sure that you're prepared, really.
Yeah, there's a couple of points you've that I want to talk through a little bit in detail. One is selecting different carriers, and that's quite important one, I think, because like you said, if it gets prepared sooner than later, then it's good for everyone. And it maybe, do you think we can even start testing, having agreement in place, but not only agreement, but it's good to test it out, right?
Of course. And just building that relationship with your account manager as well. That's, so half the time that's the really important piece. Retailers will call me up and say, yeah, this carrier is great, but I can't get hold of my account manager. Okay, but what happens when things go bad or it's really busy? You want to make sure that you have a good relationship there so that you can, deal with any potential problems. We don't know that there can be problems, but you just want to kind of defend against that.
Yeah. Another thing is you mentioned that about process being tight. I'm trying to pick on specific things. So and I think this relates to getting things tested sooner than later, I believe. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So that pick, pack, dispatch, all of that process, if there's any inefficiency within that, it's like that classic thing about if you're driving a car and you can hear a little squeak. When that car starts to go a lot quicker, that squeak becomes a lot louder and there could be a lot of problems. So when things get a lot busier, you want to make sure that there aren't any little problems and niggles within that process that you need to just resolve well before. We're 6-7 weeks out before this busy period is really going to kick in.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing you mentioned about leveraging Amazon's delivery system and so on. So a lot of people don't use Amazon FBA system for whatever reason. A lot of people don't like it for whatever reason. Some people like it, they use it, and they depend their life on it because they've got no other process in place. And we remember what happened before pandemic when Amazon pulled out. And I don't know how many businesses must have been affected, but there must be huge amount of businesses got affected. So how do as a business, if I do FBM through fulfill myself, not only Amazon fulfillment, I sell on eBay, or I may be selling on a website, and how do you suggest we use a little bit of Amazon, try it out, so if there is a need, we can scale that? So how any retailer can go ahead with that?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's well worth having inventory and stock spread in multiple places so that you can increase your ability to fulfill orders a lot quicker. I would probably look at your inventory and look at which products are performing really well, where there's very little complexity around that, ideally where it's fairly small and the cost to store is not huge, and the likelihood is that it's going to move quickly. And that's the kind of thing that I would want to test. Obviously, things that need to be personalized, or you wrap it in a certain way, or it's very big and bulky, not a great place to start, in my opinion. But that stuff where it's going to move quickly and you can just test out that experience. Again, I speak to a number of retailers who will use a combination of third-party logistics, Amazon FBA, and FBM, fulfillment by merchant, because it's better to spread that risk, and it's good to use the benefits of FBA without putting your whole business on there, just in case whatever happens. As you mentioned, pre-pandemic.
Yeah, excellent. So let's move on to the next news you have.
So the other one is pretty interesting. So Pitney Bowes have just released their parcel shipping index for 2020. So it's a retrospective look at how the markets across the globe performed in parcel shipping. So this is really interesting, and it's hotly anticipated because it's able to show us the volumes of parcels delivered across different markets and the growth rates there. So the US was up to 20 billion parcels delivered, UK up to 5 billion, so that's a 33% increase on 2019. Not surprising that there was huge amounts of growth, but it also gives a breakdown of the performance of the carriers. So really interesting off the back of that was that Amazon is now the largest independent courier in the UK. So obviously you have raw mail, which looks up, the national postal carrier at 34%. And now Amazon has overtaken Hermes. So Hermes at 13% and Amazon at 15%. So I thought that was really interesting because I think, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, people looked at the market. Amazon were about to buy a load of planes and Mercedes Sprinter vans, and everyone thought, nah, they're never going to do it. I think that the FedEx said there's no way that they can do that. I think people were thinking about, are they going to buy, I don't know, DPD or DHL or whoever? But no, they've run it by themselves, and it's hugely successful. So that's interesting. And then the other part of that was that the UK is forecast to hit 8.5 billion by 2026 in terms of deliveries. So that was really interesting. I think so what? How does that impact the everyday merchant? I think it's good to know that we're in an industry that's growing, and there's a lot of opportunity that comes off the back of that. That's exciting. Amazon logistics is obviously not going away. Not that we ever thought it would do, but it's further confirmation that Amazon's here to stay, and their delivery arm, if that's Amazon Prime Air, their local delivery, or the off Amazon deliveries that they launched a couple of years ago, it's going well, and it's here to stay. So either you partner with Amazon or you try and compete with them, and I think that most retailers will have to look at their Amazon strategy and make sure that is part of what they're doing. The other thing I think that shows us is that it pays to shop around when it comes to carriers. There's lots of carriers now that look after different parts of the market. It's very dispersed, I think, in the UK. There's a lot of, US, you might think of the 4, maybe now with Amazon, maybe making it 5, but in the UK, there's a lot of options, which means that you as a retailer, it pays to go and shop around, speak to the different carriers. They're opening up distribution centers all the time. There's increased capacity within those to meet demand around peak, and be fickle if you can, and you're technically able through, you could use a platform like ShipStation to enable you to onboard them really quickly. There's no harm in doing that.
Yeah, you've said the right thing about going and finding other carriers at the time. Like you said, the numbers you mentioned in billions, that shows that there's always going to be a growth. Well, it was before, but now it's more exponential than anything else. People who didn't shop online or didn't have confidence, now they have more confidence on shopping online because they have to. Yeah, I think for online retailers, it's a good space now, I think. Because of growth and so on. So Amazon's logistics, as you mentioned, they are taking quite a chunk of space now, and they are also talking to retailers with different programs called like Amazon Flex programs and so on, taking care of bulky items, which is in fact very difficult to handle because there are only limited number of carriers to do bulky stuff. So it's an interesting space, this deliveries. But a lot of times we may not think about deliveries, but it's one of the important part of e-commerce in general anyway, because no matter how much you market or how better you do PPC or make a product or A+ page or whatever better, if delivery is not there on time, nothing else matters there. So
well, I think Amazon looked at that. It was their biggest cost. They couldn't control it, and they thought, well, the only way we can do is just build it. Most other people don't have that luxury, but it shows you how important it is for the biggest player in this market, that they want to control it. And I think I saw something on the news about John Lewis and IKEA literally chartering ships out of Southeast Asia. It's so important that the big players will go and invest heavily to make sure that they can control it for their own consumer, because poor delivery and you'll just have fickle customers that will go and shop elsewhere where they can get a better experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Next day delivery wasn't something I thought of 10 years ago. Now you can see people's expectation. If the parcel is not there next day, or even in a couple of days that's been promised, people do start opening up cases here and there and start talking about it, which is which is really changing people's behavior, really. So, right, I think, yeah, it's really good to have a chat. And then thank you, Mike, again, to bringing latest trends now or news that's happening. We'll probably talk again sometime soon, and bring up new things to talk about with online sellers. I think lastly, it would be good if somebody needs to talk to you about ShipStation and maybe talk about different carriers or problems they have in terms of generating these integrated labels and things like that. Where is the best place to talk to you or talk to a team?
So first one, feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, and I'll respond pretty quickly. Second one is obviously our website, ShipStation.com. So you can start a free 30-day trial. You get your own account manager, and they can help you out with looking at your whole process. They can also help you out with intros to the major carriers as well. If you're struggling with that or you don't know where to start, they speak to retailers of all different shapes and sizes all day, and can give you the first kind of step to kind of making those decisions for your business.
Excellent. So thank you again for your time today, and I'll speak to you soon, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.